Thanks a lot. Okay, so my name is Siarhei, and I'm a very lucky guy because I'm using all these theoretical parts from HTML, JavaScript, SVG, etc., and create dashboards and systems that support decision making and make some money with all these theoretical things that you just heard. And I'm going to show some tips and tricks, some recipes from my cookbook, which I run this year, and probably we will participate in the next big project next time. So let me tell you about the prototyping approach. I had a speech on another meetup for AngularJS, and it's a little bit AngularJS centric, but you can catch the main idea. And the main idea here is that we have sort of swirl, and I'm a user experience guy, and along with user experience deliverables like concept maps, user flows, personas, etc., we try to produce our prototype as soon as we can. So like on the very next day we had a Kickstarter meeting. We provide very conceptual, very low fidelity, but we provide prototype because this is sort of backbone of our project. So this is the first step. Then we try to increase fidelity of this prototype, and our effort is about how to increase fidelity of the prototype. And little by little we go to rough sketch and then clickable or tapeable mockup. And the longest run is our high fidelity interactive prototype. And using all these cool features from the modern world JavaScript, we can create a maintainable prototype because several years ago, all the designers, all the information architects, when they've been trying to communicate their ideas, they've been creating one prototype or one idea. Currently, you can create a much more maintainable stuff, and you can not throw something away and have the very same code that you had at the very beginning as a concept and the final product. So we spin on and on and on, increasing our fidelity, and we end up with an application. So the main idea here is we are one deliverable centric. There's no zones of responsibility. So it's not possible like, okay, I'm a designer, I've created a cool PSD files, but then coders spoil everything, or I'm a cool coder, I created the greatest HTML5, CSS3 solution, but then developers spoil everything. No, we are all responsible for one deliverable, which is prototype, which one day will become an application. So if you want to get more information about this approach, just follow the link below. Also, our process is based on something called human-centered agile. This is sort of a mixture of waterfall and agile. Waterfall parts are preparation parts like cycle 0, cycle 1. You just collect feedback, collect some input, process it as far as we can, create a prototype, and then we start this agile cycles. Just show and tell, grab feedback, process it, give it to prototyping team as an input. They review the prototype, give it back to us. We show to stakeholders, to end users, collect new feedback, and then we spin on and on and on. It's like the same swirl, but on a timeline base. And of course, toolkit, it's pretty much what you just heard about it, but let me just name them. Not everything we use HTML5 as a sort of modern media, the most universal media ever existed, because using HTML5 you can use text, you can use image, you can use sound, you can use video, you can use interaction solutions, and the most exciting thing is that in the end it's more than its parts. So there are a lot of guys who can use text, image, video, etc. Separately, but not so many people who can really use HTML5 when it comes to a solution where you can use everything, but in the proper proportions, etc., etc. We use also CSS3, we use JavaScript, and for business logic where we use AngularJS and MVC frameworks, and the culture of test-driven development that it provides and promotes is very helpful to create maintainable prototypes. And also we use a lot of JSON files to mimic database in the very early stages, so we can keep our data, our fake data in JSON files, and while we build our prototype, use it. And later we say to our backend guys, okay, this is the JSON files shaped as our prototype, just create for us that web service that gives this format of responses to our requests. And finally, this is the point where prototype becomes an application. After working with fake data, we start to work with real data. Also, we use a lot of SVG. Right now, we're using T3 for, let's say, our inspiration to prove the concepts. But we ended up with high charts mostly because it's forked to support IE7. The fork is SVG and Greenwald. So we are pretty more cross-browser prepared guys, so it will work everywhere, especially for corporate clients. And also we have a bunch of our user experience deliverables. This is different talk. And of course communication. Communication and feedback is as a sort of backbone of our process. So we try to collect as much feedback from the very first day as we can, and we make our process feedback based. And I have to tell some words from the user experience background, because a lot of guys who is working with data visualizations are mostly statisticians, guys with mathematical background, ex developers, front-end developers, etc., etc. And they forgot about one very interesting stuff that came from user experience world. If you create sort of dashboards, or visual data mining tool, most people suggest user interface as a binary state machine. It means you have sort of states and transitions between these states, and how these states change in front of the user. For the end user, is how your application works. And most of the people, they start with something here on the screen. They make people serve the data, so they work with data without paying attention to people. And this is the huge mistake, because once you try to create tools that will help people to make decisions, to delegate some work, you have to figure out what are the pain points. So you have to start not with data, you have to start with pain. And you have to figure out, okay, sometimes you will have to become sort of a psychologist for these guys. Okay, describe me your process. How stuff are changing here? What is the changing here in the human's brain? And you have to figure out the mental model of the process which you want to support with your data and data mining tool. So you make data serve people. And you will never have any respect, or something from data side, but you can have a lot of respect from people side. So that's why you have to figure out not only focus over attention, but also locus of attention. So you can Google for it, you can search Google Cloud, but again, when you're about to start to create, data visual mining tools, start with people, start with pain points, start with mental model, and make UI based on mental model, not just on raw data, and how you can beautifully convert it into something very intriguing. Because otherwise, you can create something very sophisticated, very cool, very interactive, but nobody uses it. Maybe once. But on the other hand, if you create something which is maybe very plain, very easy, but it will really cures people's pain, you will have much more appreciation, and you will have phase 2, phase 3, when you can add a lot of interactions, sophistications, etc., but don't forget about people first. So, our company is outstaffing and outsourcing mostly from Eastern and Central Europe, and this is an advantage for us because, for example, I'm here on the client side. I engage my clients, I start the projects, I start with prototyping, and once I've created the culture of trust and communication, we start to outsource development little by little overseas. And due to difference day-night, it works very well for us because, I have talk with the stakeholders and users, collect feedback, process it, and send it in the evening to the guys overseas, who is mostly, AngularJS powered, HTML5 designers, prototypers, as an input. Go to bed, and they wake up, update their prototype, send it their evening back to me. I wake having the fresh, freshly baked prototype, knock on a customer's door and say, okay, I'm a vampire, I never sleep. So this is what we've been talking yesterday. So we don't use even a day. And it's a very important step to have this high point of conversation, to acquire a lot of feedback that nobody forgets what we've been talking about during last meeting. And this is our schema. This orange thing is sort of prototype, and this is me talking to end users, collecting all this stuff, some input, sometimes describing what backend and front-end guys have to update in prototype. So we have a little bit of QA to have, to be pretty sure that everything works fine, and then it spins back to me. And this is also sort of, swirl again. We have this back and forth movement all the time to shape our prototype and make in the end application out of it. Let me, I guess you can see this again. So, this is to, when you talk to top managers, when you talk to average people who have never, was in this topic of data visualization or visual data mining tools, you have to give them some basics. This is what I used to provide those basics. I told them, okay, let's imagine the pyramid, and this pyramid is sort of data about your organization. And we're going to create sort of tool which gives you opportunity to move in two directions, from top to bottom, left to right. Here, at the bottom, we have raw data, sort of tables, sort of, like JSON structures. And the very first presentation of this data is a table. So when you create the data mining tools, you always have to have this sort of dumb version of your current presentation, like switch me to a table, because still there are a lot of people, there are a lot of third-party tools that require this data presentation. Then when we start to move from very concrete to abstract, where here comes clusters, like tree maps, like maps. Then on the next level we got graphs, and different views for these graphs. And somewhere on the top you will just have a sort of sign like do or don't do, like buy, sell, something like this, just a trigger. And somewhere in the middle you can find best visualizations for your particular customer. And there's also one more thing, the closer you go to very abstract stuff, the more variations. So the more movement, like left and right, you have automations, you have views, you have drill downs, you have scopes, you have zooming, etc., etc. So the more abstract presentation is, the more additional interactions you can include into it as well. And when people start to ask us, okay, what format of information do you want from us as an input? I say, okay, guys, so imagine that we guys two entities. We have identification rules for them. And let's say those entities has tags. And tags can be provided by a system or provided by end users, so-called taxonomy. And we can figure out a lot of connections between the two entities. And we can introduce certain factors to increase influence of one connection or decrease of the other, and we can have final resulting connections between them and average global threshold. Once we acquire data like this, we can start to create our prototype like in the next day, because this is something that you can already create a lot of examples, and you can start conversation not only about, okay, like who's going to provide data, who's going to do this or that, and just introduce your prototype, and this is sort of object that everybody has in spot, and everybody can speak in the same language. Once you have this step done, you're not talking about sort of theoretical parts, you just start to create real product. So these two images that I use when I start talking to business people about data visualization, as I said, like, okay, you got 5 minutes, come on, tell me what you can. So I'm gonna show you some demos, and the main idea behind these demos is, okay, data visualization stuff is not only charts or charts with additional interactivity. Sometimes it's a new paradigm for UI, so you can transform UI into something that it never was before. This is the first presentation, and this is sort of bullet chart, something that we saw at Adobe as well. So this is, we call it stacked Gantt charts, and the main idea was the following. I'm a top manager, and I want to scan and then zoom. I mean, scan, I open a dashboard, I want to figure out what's wrong, what's right, and when I figure out what's wrong, I have to drill down into the situation. So the shape, like this, the compare state we call it, tells that the trend is positive, because the bigger parts are the late parts. So it was like 2009, 2010, and then we go to 2012. So when the smaller part stands on the top, it means the trend is okay. But when we have situation like this, it means that the trend goes down. So for the first task, I want to just scan. I look over the shapes and figure out what shapes are playing, or what shapes are squared. And I say, okay, I have to pay attention to this very quickly. And then I can click on it, etc., etc. I can interact with this and dig into this and have this additional information. So this is sort of solution of UI that wasn't done before, when I can click first with scan and then just drill in. The second demo is about filtering. Just exit full screen mode to make this. So, in a big amount of applications, you will have situation where you have sort of iterator with entities. In this situation, those are.
Can we increase the browser zoom?
Sorry?
Can we increase the zoom?
Oh, yes. So, you can see it everywhere, like you have an iterator with entities. Here there are positions. You can have a traditional filter, just type in something and filter this stuff. And this is additional graphical filter built on top of parallel coordinates. Here we get access lines like age, salary, publications, and operations. And we have distributions along every line. And every zigzag line is a position. So when you use your traditional tool like a filter, like a text filter, you have to know at least one attribute of the entity that you are looking for. You have to know something like a name or any other attribute. But when you start to use this graphic filter, you can start knowing nothing, but still you can narrow down scopes. For example, I want to figure out how many people over 25, over 55 working in the company, without knowing any attributes of those people before, so just using this graphic representation. For example, I want to figure out how many people in between of these ages having the biggest salary. It was around 3 of them. And for example, I want to figure out how many of them are writing any publications. So none. But the main, I found only at this one day. And the very fresh, the very new stuff here is you don't have to know anything about guys that you are looking for, and you can rediscover your organization, rediscover this collection of employees, etc., without knowing any attributes up front. And sometimes it opens eyes for of the top managers. They start to figure out, okay, so can we add more lines, more distributions? I want to start, to understand how applications are connected to operations. Some physicians are very busy, making a lot of operations. Is it time for them to make some publications, etc., etc.? I can run cancel this. So, for example, the situation, the other guys are making the most number of operations, and there's only guy who's making both applications and operations at the same time. So, like, okay, I have to maybe speak to this guy, promote him, because he's doing the biggest part of the work. And probably there is no other way in the organization that this guy can be put on spot and be promoted, unless you introduce something like this. So this is proof of ideas that use data visualization and HTML5, JavaScript, etc., etc. You can create something that was never experienced before. And also we are, working on stuff. So this is like the current state of what we do, and this is like what we are trying to introduce in the future. We work a lot of with two-dimensional presentations. We want to make it possible to, to generate a lot of two-dimensional stuff, visualizations, especially when you got an organization with departments, to make it possible to navigate through the visualization. And we are dealing with it also graphically now. Also, maybe sometimes you have to go into sort of like first-person shooter or something like this. Imagine that you have sort of visualizations everywhere mapped in a human brain. Like, okay, I'm a top manager of organization. I've got departments in a certain building, and I can navigate through this building and see sort of visualizations on the walls, on the tables, and somewhere I can prepare this stuff. Do a lot of visualizations that maybe for architecture, etc., etc. So there are a lot of stuff that still can be done, and can be done first time ever. So it's like a very good field for you, for us, to express yourself and start to use all these techniques and technologies and approaches to create something that nobody ever experienced before. So that's much. Thank you. Questions?
On your first demo, was there just not, that wasn't what you saw. Was there not data for 2012 after January? Just to make sure.
It was a date when we were making this project.
Yeah.
It was just from the past.
So you layered then the most recent years of the run?
Yeah, it was like, So it's because there's a picture superiority effect of human beings, so we acquire images first of all, first than other any possible form of information. And inside of this, we acquire form faster than anything else, faster than color and shape. We acquire shape faster than color or anything else. And if I'm a very busy guy and I want just scan chart, not to look through chart, but scan this chart, so it was great for scanning. I can easily see where the tops are flat. If tops are flat, that's the problem. So at the beginning, I try to fix it. So that's it. Any more questions?
Basically, I work together with Siarhei, and typical question what people asking us, how do you know what is exactly the right data visualization for this particular case? So, okay.
Well, actually, we start to collect, I guess, the most meaningful slide. Here is again, get like to this. Yes. I should say some words about this. Sometimes it's very hard to collect requirements for data visualization task. Like, okay, they don't know what you can provide to them, and we don't know what they we start with sort of tree of requirements from the very general to very specific. And it goes like this. Now, as a user, I want to know something, and this should be a little more detailed, like the second branch of this tree. And then it should have options, and what sort of options. And it goes on and on and on. You know, don't be afraid at the very first meeting to have requirements like, okay, I want to have this solved. Or I want to have this, take me less than 5 minutes. And then you just try to drill into it and take this sort of information. So again, the main message is, it's very important to have statistical background. It's very important to have mathematical background. But anyway, start with people first. And when you do it, you just make these mathematical statistical topics support people needs. You know, maybe you have to drill down, into this, collect more information. Got some training, etc. But start with people's problems first, and you will figure out how to implement something that will serve them, not them serve it. Is the answer? Any more questions?
Is everything that you do custom built for that client? Or do you use frameworks and libraries, and what combination of open source and commercial?
We use D3 to prove the concepts because it's very quick. We just run it in Google Chrome just to prove concepts. And we end up with high charts and custom. We hack high charts. From the basics of high charts, we create our own solutions. And we do very, very specific. We try to pose ourselves like, okay, you can use Pentaho, for example, but you can beat Pentaho because you don't need to learn any tool. We do like exact tailoring for you, or for your top managers for their needs. And this is our advantage because we solve real problems of real people. Not just like, okay, I'm a statistician, I know use general solutions, and I provide these general solutions. So, okay, maybe it's not, sometimes we, for example, we've introduced tree map here, but then we, throw this tree map away because, people were not, familiar with this sort of presentation, like to compare physicians to financial people, because financial people are okay with tree maps. Sometimes we have to, get back to line charts and bar charts instead of, something like flow chart, which is very beautiful, on the billion, but it doesn't work. So sometimes you have to degrade your ideas, but to make people feel more comfortable with the tools they use. So we do tailoring.
Sorry, what kind of data was the tree map not? Did you have to, or what kind of project was that? Did it work out?
We sometimes use, tree map.
Yeah.
It's sort of proportions of something.
Right.
And for example, we had the tree map as a core of drilling down into the organization.
But for what data set or for what?
It was like we have countries, offices, number of skills in that offices, a number of levels of people with that offices. And you have sort of this bar as a basis of tree map, and you can reorganize this according to, okay, show me all the offices. It creates a number of people in the offices, and then rearrange or like staying here in this, particular bar. You just drill